पूर्णानन्दरसानुभूति सहित स्मेर प्रसन्नाननम् पूर्णेन्दुप्रभमात्मबोधनिलयम् शान्तं निरीहं परम् नित्यविचारसारचतुरं निर्मत्सरं पावनं श्रीभूमानन्दमहं नतोऽस्मि कलितानन्दं परं श्रेयसे.
Law enforcement machinery should be very forceful and powerful. That is where we lack. Humanity has never become benevolent all through. That is all the 100% any time. There will be some people who are benign, benevolent. There will equally be some people who are malignant and maleficent. They should be kept under the rule of law. What the law can do, you and I will not be able to do. A thief is thieving. How can I restrain him? The power to restrain him, stop anybody on the road is only given to the police. So the police people will have to be very vigilant. And they will have to be sometimes even ruthless in dealing with ruthless people. It cannot be done by you and me. What cannot be done by the country? I cannot understand. We were blaming that Britishers were robbing us. Now after we have got India in our own hands, you tell me, have we been robbed more or less? How much of our money is in the foreign land? If you bring, I don't have the figures now, but I was quoting the figures and held press conferences, etc., and they were proved right. All the money when you are able to bring, you don't have to have a budget. We have enough money to run the government. Tell me who robbed and who abetted in the process? Do Britishers come here now? So the question is, are we interested in building India? This is the question. I am mentioning to you only by virtue of historic references, that's all. When we formed the constitution, we have only looked into the geographical piece called the subcontinent of India and handed over by the British people. So looking into the Irish and allied constitutions, we wrote a democratic constitution. Democracy was the stark word there. But we refused to look into the long history of India. Not even one mention. India was never given the status of Madhur Bhumi. That also was not given. I don't know if India is not our Madhur Bhumi, call it Pitru Bhumi or Madhula Bhumi. I have brother-in-law Bhumi, I have no objection. This is the only place where we are born in and we can walk with freedom until the boundaries of the country. If this is not our motherland, I would like every one of you to say, who is the motherland? Some land should be there mothering you. If this is not mothering you, tell me who is mothering you? Even your mother, when she was carrying you in the pregnancy, she was also supported by the same land. So we cannot go anywhere except with a passport and a visa. Here alone we have the freedom. So our motherland is mother indeed. Anywhere on her lap we can roll, we can dig the earth, we can make pits and holes, we can construct, we can fly over, everything we can do, but we don't have the freedom elsewhere. So it is certainly the motherland. So that is all by the way. Now I wanted to say, Mahabharata registers the decline and fall of the Kuru dynasty. I cannot go through all of it now, but partially I would like to say, our life is interactional. What is life if you ask a question? What is life? According to me, life is experiential. Every time we are experiencing. When the child is born, it is born into the womb of the world, on the surface of the earth. It reacts to it, takes the first breath itself, crying. It is an interaction for it. Within the mother's womb it was not so. It was allied through the umbilical cord to the mother, and no individual existence was there. When it was born, it had that individuality once the umbilical cord was cut. So from that time onwards, our life is experiential and also interactional. Am I clear? When I say interactional, it means the individual who lives interacts with the rest of the factors. Other than himself, he interacts with. Suppose we are breathing, we are interacting with the air. When we are drinking, we are interacting with water. When I talk, I interact with you, the hearer. So everywhere is interaction. There can be no interaction, action, only behavior and acts. Suppose I take bath, I do something internally myself. So life is experiential. There is no point of time when there is no experience at all. Otherwise, life is interactional. We get up early in the morning until we take rest at the end of the day, closing our eyes, we lie on the bed and we are wrapped up in sleep. It is interactional. In the interactions, there are two factors. One is the individual, the other is the rest of the world. Now, what is this individual? We should understand the individual. What is the human individuality? The first point I would like to make is that we have got a composite personality. What? It is a composite personality. So there are components in it. I would like to divide them into two. One is the external counterpart and the internal counterpart. The external counterpart consists of the matter-energy aggregate called the body. The matter-energy aggregate called the body. As I said, neither matter nor energy has any potential to know, feel, speak, sense, etc. At the same time, we are doing all this. So we have something other than the so-called matter-energy aggregate called the body. That is inside the body, inward to the body. That internal counterpart is the second component. That consists of only three factors or constituents. One is the mentating mind, the intellecting intelligence, and the asserting ego. Mind, intelligence, and ego together constitute the inner personality. The body constitutes the external personality. Between the two, if we can draw a line of comparison, I would like you to understand that the body is completely inert, I-N-E-R-T, or insentient. The entire body and the senses have nothing in the way of the power of sensation. Our body has to be animated and activated by the mind. Am I clear? See, you have eyes. You won't be able to see with the eyes at all. Imagine a sleeping person. Gently you open his eyelids and you show a bouquet. Take it away, allow it to close. Next morning you ask him, did you see the bouquet I showed you? He will say no. Why? The eyes were open and the stuff was shown, but he did not see. So what was lacking there? His own attention, the mind part, the inner part was missing there. So every time for every act, the inner mind will have to activate the body and the senses, and then only an activity or interaction can take place. Once you understand that our personality is composite and it has the external and internal counterparts, the external is inert, the internal alone is sentient, and it has to animate and activate the body and senses for every kind of an action and interaction, I think my problem becomes easy. Now I will tell you. So far as the body and bodily needs are concerned, you are very clear, no doubt at all. Our body requires food for nourishment. Once you feed the body and give it nourishment, it will be able to survive. Maybe you have to take some exercises and have the flexible body, have the flexibility of the body. Food is the nourishment of the body, and every day you are spending, I don't know, at least 2 hours in taking food, etc. altogether. 3 or 4 times you have your food. So much time you are spending. Now you tell me, my dear souls, correspondingly, what is the food and nourishment for your mind? Have you thought about it? Have you spent any time every day to nourish the mind? You are using your mind, employing your intelligence. I agree. But have you stopped employing? Just like you withdraw from activity, come to the dining table, spend some time, half an hour to have your lunch, breakfast, dinner, and maybe some sipping of tea here, etc. there. In the same manner, what are you doing to nourish your mind, to nourish your intelligence? Mind must have its own nourishment and intelligence must have its own nourishment. My answer to you in a very simple manner is, the nourishment to the mind is contentment and peace. Do you agree or disagree? Peace is not an alien product. It is not something unfamiliar to us. It is a desperate need. We can starve and still continue 3, 4, 5 days if you drink water. But you must have peace and contentment. Peace and contentment. Contentment, contentment, contentment. That is what the mind minimum needs. If you are contented, you can do your job pleasantly and well. Even more, you will not feel tired. If you are discontented, every moment will become an aching load. So that contentment is a requirement, an indispensable requirement, a nourishment for the mind. Harvard University recently brought forth a communication in which they said, everyone in this world is remaining wakeful and is caught up in wakeful activities for 1020 minutes. 17 hours of the day. For the rest 7 hours he is asleep. Out of the 1020 minutes, they say, at least 10 minutes you should meditate. That is their language. Poor people, what do they know about meditation, I wonder. 10 minutes you have to apply to your mind. What is meditation? Withdrawing from all activities, not doing anything physically or yoga exercise, closing your eyes and remaining still. Handling, if at all, employing, if at all, only your own mind. Now, I would like to say 20 minutes. Out of 1020 minutes, please spend at least 20 minutes every day. Then I will give you peace and contentment. You say, I want. Who wants? The mind wants. Are you doing anything to feed the mind? No. Then how will you have peace and contentment? Similarly, you have intelligence. Intelligence needs knowledge. You have to provide the intelligence with its specific requirement called knowledge. And what kind of knowledge? Knowledge of whatever is necessary, say professional, medicinal and other people. Apart from it, there are 2 kinds of knowledge. One is the knowledge of the object, another is the knowledge of the subject. The entire world is objects. Objects. If the world is an object, who is the subject of that world object? Where is that subject? Our body itself is an object to me. I see my body just like I see the wall. If the wall is an object to my eye, my body is also an object to the eye. Now what is the subject in both? The subject is inward, inside the body. Now you must have a knowledge of the subject. Then only you will understand the mind, the intelligence and the ego. Only when you understand them, you will be able to feed them, nourish them, and they will give you the products you need. Peace and contentment cannot be postponed. If you have to live well, you must be contented and you must live. Don't say that I will do my work and then be joyous. I want you to do your work joyously from the beginning. Will you agree or not? Huh? Don't be a miser. I will do something and then become happy. No. I want you to be happy and then do everything. Learn to do happily. Learn to do joyously. Let me ask you a question. All of you are very intelligent. What is meant by peace, joy and contentment? Will you not agree with me when I say that joy is emotional? Huh? Yes or no? Yes. Emotional. Does any emotion belong to matter and energy? Does it belong to the body? I think you should participate in the discussion. Huh? If joy does not belong to the body, it belongs to the mind. Keeping the mind, why do you say I am not joyous? What for is your education then? Keeping the mind the source of joy with you, you say that keeping butter, you cry for ghee. I say melt the butter and take the ghee. You are keeping butter and crying for ghee. You have the mind with you, and mind alone can produce joy. Joy is emotional. Peace is emotional. Joy is a little vibrant, exhilarating, ecstatic. Peace is a little sublime, still, composed and poised. That's all the difference between the two. Keeping the mind with you, you cannot say you are not joyous. Don't be guilty. I tell you how to become joyous. My formula will be a universal formula. Universal formula. And it comes to you out of an understanding of life. Understanding of life. We said life is an interaction. Where is this interaction taking place? Tell me. Where is the interaction taking place? Interaction takes place in the level of the senses. I am seeing with and through my eyes. I am hearing through my ears. I am smelling through my nose. Tasting through the tongue and touching through the skin. So all the interactions to begin with, so to say, are in the level of the senses. But, that but is very important, semicolon. What is that but? Though the interactions are taking place in the sensory level and senses seem to be interacting with the objects, the senses have no power to interact. They are inert, we have already said, insentient. So every time the sense has to be activated, empowered, potentized to interact. So any kind of an action or an interaction, you tell me now, it emerges from where? What is the point of initiation? The senses or the mind? Thoda boliye na. Huh? Every action is initiated by the mind. I want to see, so I open my eyelids. Look at the direction I want. If I want to stop seeing, I decide it and close my eyes or turn away my vision. So every action is initiated, designed by the mind. Not only that, as the action is implemented, in the implementational level also, it rests on the mind. And when the action is completed, that completion is registered in the mind. It becomes a knowledge and memory. Now you tell me, the whole lot of activity and interaction, what is the sole base of it? I must get an answer. Body or mind? Mind. Have no doubt about it. Have no doubt about it. Mind. Because mind is the activator. Mind is the sustainer. Mind is the concluder. You have come here for a lecture session. You have come and you will go. The entire event will be remembered by the mind. Not by your legs, not by your eyes. The entire experience is inner, internal. Objects may be incidental in experiencing, but the experiences themselves are purely and solely subjective. It is this factor that we are going to study and employ to have contented mind. I said that throughout the day we are interactive. Our interactions take place. So life is interactional. If the life is interactional, what takes place there? Whenever there is an interaction between the subject and the object, subject we ourselves and object the world, it can be persons, places and events. Whenever there is an interaction, this interaction has got a law, a character. What is that character? Whenever there is a sense-object interaction, now I am quoting from Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, the historic narrative. What happened? The Mahabharata war was an unprecedented war. And Yudhishthira's side and Duryodhana's side were preparing elaborately for the purpose. Duryodhana was able to muster out of 18 Akshahunis, he was able to muster 11 and Yudhishthira got only 7. I think the proportion will be better now. That time, 11 versus 7. Wicked people were 11 and righteous people were only 7. Then both of them came to the battlefield, the war cries were raised. Arjuna was a heroic fighter, Krishna was his charioteer. So he suddenly thought, I will examine the army and find out with whom I have to personally battle. So Krishna, drive the chariot of front, station it properly so that I can look at the army and make my evaluation. Krishna suddenly jumped with a lot of enthusiasm. He drove the chariot and stopped it right in front of Bhishma and Drona and said, look at them. Bhishma, his grandfather, Drona, his teacher. He was supposed to use the skill he learned from Drona towards him, at him. And the grandfather on whose lap he had grown, he had now to fight him mercilessly in the war front. Arjuna, can you do it? You wanted to examine the army, something that Arjuna had not contemplated upon. Suddenly, he was overpowered by grief. Affliction, torment, consternation, confusion, everything. So the mind and intelligence were completely confounded, shaken to the core. He was unable to stand. His body shivered, mouth went dry, mind started whirling. Intelligence said, do not attempt this war, this is sinful. Gandiva, the famous bow he was holding, slipped from his hand. He was unable to hold it. He threw everything and sat in front of Krishna saying that, I cannot do anything. And you know the one question he raised. Will you please remember it? I would like you to share it with all your friends. Nahi prapashyami mamapanudya yachogamuchoshanam indriyanam avapya bhuma vasapatna mruddham rajyam suranam apichadhipatyam. Krishna, please listen to me what I say. Krishna, my whole body is scorched by the grief of the mind. I don't know whether any one of you had any such grief. Grief is felt in the mind, but here he says it was so overpowering that the whole body and senses were scorched by it. Yachogam uchoshanam indriyanam. My whole body is being scorched by the grief. Unless you can cool it for me, I cannot think of fighting at all. Don't tell me in return, somehow you fight and win the kingdom, you will become prosperous, or lose, you will get some heaven. Don't tell me about this. Can you cool my mind and cool my heart? Otherwise, don't open your mouth. This is what Arjuna said. This is the historicity that I want to picture before you. Krishna did not fail at all. Whatever confrontation or whatever call he had answered it very well. He took up the thread and initiated Arjuna into an inquiry, analysis, evaluation and appraisal of life, interaction and its consequences. The dormant intelligence of Arjuna was activated, enlightened and empowered by Krishna. Instantly Arjuna responded to it. He only spoke a few words in the beginning. Specifically speaking about 64 letters he spoke. Arjuna instantly became cool and said, no, I will not grieve. I will not feel sympathy. I have only some questions to ask you. How is it proper that I fight with my own teacher and my own grandfather? I shall fight when you say, but how? How? I must be able to take my bow and arrow and discharge arrows. Give me that empowerment. Give me that energization. Give me that activation. That is what he asked for. And Krishna delivered it in the course of 2.5 hours. This was a dialogue that took place on the Kurukshetra battlefield just before the commencement of the war. Vedavyasa was narrating the whole developments. And it was a historic development that the war took place. All of them came and Arjuna wanted an examination. This was the result. And he presented his case before Krishna and Krishna began to speak. After 2.5 hours, when Arjuna was appeased and he was stable, then the war continued. So it was a 2.5 hour dialogue that transpired in between the 2 points, before the commencement of the war and the actual commencement. Tell me whether it is historic or religious. Boliye na. Huh? There is nothing religion there. What is religion there? What is religious there? Arjuna never wanted to pray. Krishna never asked him to pray also. There was no time to pray in a battlefield. Will others allow? This was a purely historic matter. Because the dialogue took place, then the main point that Krishna conveyed is what I am going to say. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhadaha agama payinaha anityaha tan tidikshasva bharata. Whenever there is a contact between the senses and the objects, Arjuna, everything has got a character, a nature. So the sense-object interaction is governed by a law, by a process, a character. What is that? Shitoshna sukha dukkhadaha. Any interaction between the senses and the object will inevitably produce either pleasantness or unpleasantness in the mind, over which none has an option. How long shall I stop now? Whether you are knowledgeable or not, great or not, whenever there is an interaction between the senses and the objects of the world, that interaction necessarily results in either a pleasant response from the mind or an unpleasant response. Both together will not be there. One will alternate with the other. Not only that, in the whole life throughout the day you only have sense-object interactions. So all the interactions put together with what you interact is immaterial. You may interact with people at home, people in the office front, people in the society. You may interact with different kinds of events, national, global, domestic, whatnot. All these are sense-object interactions and they result only in sukha and dukkha. So sukha and dukkha are the only outcomes. How many times shall I say this, my dear people? They are the only mind outcomes of all the interactions that you do in this world. So tell me, what does the world cost you in the form of experience? Huh? Sukha and dukkha.